And with that, Senator Schiff.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Sauer, you've served as one of the President's defense lawyers. Should cases arise in the Justice Department involving the same cases in which you represented him, will you recuse yourself?
Senator, thank you for the question. As reflected in the ethics agreement that I have signed and in the regulations of the Department of Justice, as to any matter that were to come before me that might require a recusal obligation, I would consult with the Department of Justice ethics officials and follow my recusal obligations. So
you'll consult with the career ethics lawyers at the department?
Yes, that's correct.
You are aware, of course, that the career ethics officials at the department have been fired, demoted, transferred. They no longer exist. The two people in that office are one of your fellow criminal defense lawyers of Donald Trump and a political appointee who graduated from law school just a few years ago. They don't exist. So who are you going to consult? Are you going to go to one of his other criminal defense lawyers to find out if you should recuse yourself?
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back, Patriots, to America First, the channel where we break down the issues that matter most to our country, fight for truth, and stand up for the Constitution. If you're a freedom-loving American who's tired of the left's endless attacks on our values, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a video. Let's grow this community of patriots together. Today, we're diving into a heated exchange from a Senate hearing that has the left-wing media foaming at the mouth. We're talking about Adam Schiff's brutal and frankly ridiculous interrogation of D. John Sauer, President Trump's Solicitor General nominee. This clip, courtesy of Forbes Breaking News, is being spun as some kind of gotcha moment for conservatives, but we're going to break down exactly why Schiff's arguments fall flat and why Sauer's nomination is critical for defending the Constitution and the rule of law.
Senator, I'm not aware of any personnel actions that you've described, so I can't speak directly to those. I've just recently been through a process where I was consulting closely with a career DOJ
I'll tell you,
ethics attorney.
Mr. Sauer, those actions have taken place, and the two appointees are political appointees. The people who will make the recusal recommendations to you are political appointees. One was Mr. Bove's former chief of staff. The other was a fellow criminal defense lawyer for Donald Trump. If that's who you're going to for recusal advice, no one can have confidence that that judgment will be made properly. But let me move on to another question. You took the position as Donald Trump's lawyer that he could order SEAL Team 6 to assassinate a political opponent and not be prosecuted for it unless he was impeached first. Should the president order the use of violence against a political appointment, will that continue to be your position as the lawyer for the United States? Will you represent to the court that any prosecution should be dismissed if the president is not first impeached?
Senator, I believe the exchange that you're referring to, which occurred during oral argument in the D.C. Circuit in that presidential immunity decision, I was asked a question about that, and what I responded was that the president may be prosecuted for an action like that, but under the plain language of the impeachment judgment clause, he must be first impeached and convicted by the Senate.
And as the judge in that argument made clear, that means your position is he cannot be prosecuted unless he's impeached first. So he can order the use of his office to use violence against a political opponent, and you would defend his ability to do that in any criminal prosecution unless he's impeached. Is that your testimony?
I believe this situation came up with respect to a real-world example.
Well, I'm giving you...
If I may?
I'm giving you... Yes.
President
You'll answer
Obama,
my question.
Yes, I believe I am answering the question. President Obama ordered the essential killing of U.S. citizens located abroad by drone strike. And my colleague on the other side of that case was
My question is not about President Obama and using a drone strike against a terrorist. My question is Donald Trump using his office to assassinate a political opponent. If he's not impeached for it, would you defend against any prosecution as Solicitor General?
The hypothetical you've offered respectfully is so outlandish, I don't know if I'm in a position to address it.
Well, you addressed it for the court, but you won't address it for the country in this hearing?
I think I've just said exactly the same response that I gave
Okay,
to the
then
court,
exactly the same response is that you would evidently defend him against prosecution for that. Let me move on to the last question. The department moved to dismiss a corruption case against the mayor of New York. The acting Southern District of New York U.S. attorney refused to undertake an action that she believed was deeply unethical. So then it fell on her number two, Hagen Skotten, to do the dirty deed of dismissing this case. This is what he said. Any assistant U.S. attorney would know our laws and traditions do not allow using the prosecutorial power to influence other citizens, much less elected officials, in this way. If no lawyer with an earshot of the president is willing to give him that advice, then I expect you will eventually find someone who is enough of a fool or enough of a coward to file your motion, but it was never going to be me. My question to you, Mr. Sauer, is, would that be you?
Would
that be you if it fell to you to dismiss that case? Would you be the coward or fool willing to dismiss that case on behalf of the president?
I certainly can't speak to any official action that I might or might not take in a hypothetical scenario. I will say that there was a distressing lack of letters like this during the weaponization of justice.
Well, there is a disturbing presence of letters like this, and your answer tells me that it would be you. My colleagues have praised your legal skills. I have no doubt about your knowledge of the law. But to me, you can't be a good lawyer if you use the law to subvert the law, if you use our system to undermine our system, and I'm deeply afraid that's what you've done, and that's what you will do in this position. I yield back.
All right, so the first thing Schiff zeroes in on is whether or not Sauer would recuse himself from any DOJ cases involving President Trump. Now, let me stop right here, folks. This is nothing but a loaded question designed to insinuate corruption before a single decision has even been made. Sauer handled this like a true professional. He said he'd consult with the Department of Justice ethics officials and follow the rules. That's exactly what any nominee in his position is supposed to say. But of course, Schiff couldn't leave it there. No, he had to launch into some baseless conspiracy theory about how DOJ ethics officials have been replaced with so-called Trump loyalists. Let me ask you this, Patriots. Where was this energy from Schiff when the DOJ and FBI were actively weaponized against President Trump during the Russia collusion hoax? Schiff sat back, cheered it on, and peddled lies to the American people. And now he's suddenly concerned about ethics? Give me a break. This part is where Schiff really goes off the rails. He accuses Sauer of defending a legal position that a president could theoretically order an assassination and avoid prosecution unless first impeached. Now, Schiff is clearly trying to paint Sauer as some kind of extremist, but let's get to the facts. Sauer was referencing the constitutional principle of presidential immunity. The Constitution is clear. A sitting president cannot be criminally prosecuted without first being impeached and convicted by the Senate. That's not a Trump defense, folks. That's how our system of government is designed. Schiff knows this, but instead of explaining it honestly, he twists it into some wild hypothetical to scare people. And let me just say this. Schiff's example of a president ordering an assassination is so absurd it's laughable. It's a pure strawman argument. No serious person believes that's what Sauer, or any constitutional lawyer, was advocating for. What Sauer was doing in court was defending the Constitution, not endorsing bad behavior. Schiff knows that, but his goal here is to smear anyone associated with Trump. And did you catch how Schiff completely dismissed Sauer's point about President Obama? Sauer brought up Obama's use of drone strikes on U.S. citizens abroad to illustrate that these legal questions aren't partisan. But Schiff didn't want to hear that. No, because if the truth doesn't fit his narrative, he ignores it. Let me remind you, Patriots, that when Obama ordered drone strikes without due process, the left was completely silent. They didn't care about ethics or constitutional overreach back then. But now they're losing their minds over John Sauer simply defending the Constitution in court. It's the hypocrisy for me. Schiff then tries to trap Sauer with a question about the DOJ dismissing a corruption case against the New York City mayor. He basically accuses Sauer of being a coward or a fool who would bow to political pressure. First of all, Schiff has no evidence to back up this accusation. Sauer hasn't even started in his role yet. This is yet another smear tactic to discredit him before he's even had a chance to do the job. And let's not forget that Schiff is the same guy who spent years lying about having evidence of Trump-Russia collusion that never existed. His credibility is zero. And finally, Schiff has the audacity to lecture Sauer about using the law to undermine the law. Coming from Schiff, that's rich. This is the guy who weaponized congressional hearings to push a partisan impeachment and wasted millions of taxpayer dollars on baseless investigations. The nerve of this guy to talk about undermining the system. Let me tell you what's really happening here, patriots. Schiff and the Democrats are terrified of someone like John Sauer stepping into this role because they know he'll uphold the Constitution and defend the rule of law, even when it's inconvenient for their agenda. That's what this hearing was all about, trying to discredit a good man before he even gets started. Folks, this hearing wasn't about ethics or justice. It was about Adam Schiff and his allies continuing their campaign of lies and smears against anyone who supports President Trump or the America First agenda. But we see right through it. John Sauer is an incredibly qualified nominee, and I have no doubt he'll do a phenomenal job standing up for the Constitution. If you're tired of the left's endless attacks on patriots like Sauer, make sure to hit that like button and share this video. And don't forget to subscribe to America First for more hard-hitting analysis and unapologetic truth. Together, we're going to take this country back and keep it great. Thanks for watching, patriots. God bless you, and God bless the United States of America.